Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordy and Glory video. In today's episode I am going to show you my competitive take all comers go to Imperial Guard army. Unlike many of my army lists, this is not a skew list. It is not a meme list. It is a proper list, a sensible list, and one that you can take to a tournament and be confident into any opponent and any matchup. It is perfectly balanced, as all things should be, and it consists of the three core tenets that make the Guard great. A foundation of infantry, a core of tanks, and seasoned to perfection with artillery and support units. And so, without further ado, let's not mess around any further. Let's dive right into today's episode. As is tradition, let us begin with the infantry corps. Every day in the corps is like a day on the farm. Every paycheck a fortune, every meal a banquet, every formation a parade. I love the corps. Aliens quotes aside, in this army we have got 80 infantry, 4 20-man blobs. Now our first blob is a Supreme Command blob. We have taken a big old unit of Cadians and we've given them 2 plasma guns and 2 grenade launchers and a couple of Voxcasters, and we've attached to that unit a platoon command squad with all the trimmings, but most importantly, the man with the trumpet represents a Master Vox. Got to have a good trumpet, got a good bugle, as it were. And then the Lord Solar. In this case, we've got the OG Lord Solar Macarius. Now, this unit allows me to not only get a good amount of infantry onto the board, but also, more importantly, because we've got the Lord Solar and the command squad both attached to this unit, it means that the Lord Solar can use the Voxcaster from the platoon command squad, extending his order range out to 24 inches. This means that no matter where our high valued units, and we'll get to those in a moment, are on the battlefield, the Lord Solar should have the range that he needs to give them those all-important orders, especially ones like take aim, giving them +1 to hit and increasing their firepower exponentially. Just a small side note here, I want to head off an inevitable comment. Every single time I show off the Supreme Command blob, I get a comment that says, Mordian, you can't have 2 leaders attached to a infantry squad, and that's not actually true. If you check out the datasheets for any of the battle line infantry, be it Kriegers, Katajans, infantry, or Cadians, all of them say you can have 2 leaders, but only one of those leaders can be a command squad. What this means is you can have a 20-man squad or a 10-man squad, and you can attach a command squad and another character to it, or you can attach 2 lone characters to that unit, be that, let's say, a Commissar and a Castellan, or a Commissar and a Lord Solar, but you can only have 1 command squad, so you can't take a 10 or 20-man blob and attach 2 command squads to it. I know the wording's a little funny around it, so don't worry if you're someone who's made that mistake. When I first read it, I made that mistake as well, but long story short, trust me, you can take the Lord Solar and a command squad and attach it to a unit of infantry. But you know what, guys, and it'll be interesting to see if anyone's noticed this down in the comment section, I've made a mistake, and I've only just realised it whilst I'm filming this video. Because these are Cadians, and I can't attach a platoon command squad to a Cadian unit. It has to be a Cadian command squad, and that costs 5 points more. And this list is 2,000 points on the nose. So it just goes to show that even someone like myself, who literally plays 40k for a living at this point, can make mistakes. It's a complicated game. I could have re-filmed this, but I thought it's a good example of like a teachable moment. And so what we would have to do in this case is not take these as Cadians. I'd either need to swap them out for infantry squads, and maybe I could put a couple of heavy weapons in there, or as I'm going to in this case, just for simplicity and speed and not have to worry about messing around with the movement trays too much, I'm going to take those special weapons out and I'm going to replace them with flamers, and that is going to allow me to run this as a Kashchan unit, which will actually bring me a few points. Bring the list in a few points under, about 10 points under. So I've got a few points for a Death Mask of Alonius Pass somewhere. But it's just a great example of how it's so easy to just take a platoon command squad and just chuck it onto a unit, but actually you can't do that. You have to make sure that the Cadian units go with the Cadians, the platoon command squads go with everybody else. In all honesty, it doesn't really matter what infantry you have here, as long as you can attach that command squad and the Lord Solar to it, because really they are just a catalyst to allow the 24 inches orders to take place. But moving on now, we have got 3 other blobs in the army, and I can assure you that these ones are correct. So to start off with, we have got another unit of Kashchans here. 20 Kashchans, 4 Flamers, couple of Voxcasters, and they are being led by Colonel Iron Hand Strachan. I love this blob. It's really effective because not only does it give you some scouting infantry, because both of these units have got scout move 6+, but also it gives you some very decent combat punch. Strachan is an absolute beast in close combat. I have had him take down Chaos Knights, no word of a lie. He's taken down Deathwing Terminators. He has lots of attacks, lots of rerolls, lots of lethal hits. So this not only adds some good screening, not only gets our infantry numbers up, but also gives the guards something they often struggle with, which is close combat capabilities. And the last part of the infantry corps are 2 units of Death Corps of Krieg. We've got plasma pistol, power saw sergeants, couple of mounted guns, couple of grenade launchers, and then we've swapped our Voxcasters out for a couple of plasma guns, and then we've got a Death Corps medic in each 20-man blob. These are the bread and butter. They are the go-to, and I tend to find that I just can't leave home without at least a brace of Death Corps of Krieg blobs, especially when they're being led by a couple of Death Corps Marshals. The Death Corps Marshal not only gives the squad orders, but also provides them with a 5+ feel no pain. That makes them ridiculously tanky. Between having the 5+ feel no pain, being able to go in cover and receive the take cover order, you can have a unit that is a 3+ armor save and a 5+ feel no pain, and thanks to Death Corps Medic, it can regenerate D3 casualties a turn. So they're really good line infantry because they've got the firepower and they've got the durability. So in total, we have got 80 infantry and the accompanying officers. This is going to give us a really solid amount of bodies. We've got enough infantry here to be able to push onto objectives and also be able to screen out the enemy, take a few casualties. Thanks to the extra CP from the Lord Solar, we should easily be able to use the reinforcement stratagem. So whilst there might be 80 infantry to start with, it's not uncommon if by the end of the game we've respawned 2 or 3 blobs, and actually you're looking at 120 to 140 infantry that this list can kind of draw upon. In this list, it is the infantry's job to slog it up the board and overwhelm the primary objectives with a ridiculous amount of objective control. But we also need to do damage to our opponents. A lot of secondaries do involve you killing enemy units, like no prisoners and bring it down and assassinate. To do that, we lean upon our tanks and artillery. At the centre of the motor pool are 2 Lehman Russ Exterminators. These are fantastic vehicles, probably the best tank in the guard right now. Not only does their Exterminator autocannon pack a hell of a punch with strength 9 twin linked up to 8 shots, AP-1 and a flat damage 3, but also they're a brilliant force multiplier. Each Exterminator has the ability Withering Hail. How this works is after you've shot your Exterminator at an enemy unit, every other unit in your army for the remainder of the turn gets +1 AP against them. This means that when you've got enemies dug into cover or running out across open ground or just rocking a 2+ save sat on an objective, you can really start to chew into them, turn that 2+ save into a 3+, and then even your infantry is going to start being able to do some actual damage. It's very, very, very powerful, and between the fact that you're going to have orders on most of your units and then you're going to have extra AP, it means that enemy units do melt surprisingly quickly. We've also gone for a Leman Russ battle tank. This is a fantastic take-all-comers unit. It's able to be slung into almost any type of enemy, be it vehicle or infantry or monster, and do some serious damage to it. It's got a strength 10, AP -1, flat damage 3 gun, and its ability gives it inbuilt reroll 1s to hit. This is quite nice as it does make it a little bit more of an independent unit. It's not so reliant upon orders, and this only gets better when you target an enemy unit that is on an objective, because then it gets full rerolls to hit. The Lord Solar has got 3 orders, so you can buff up 3 out of these 4 tanks, and I would say probably the Dawn and the Exterminators get the priority, and then the Battle Cannon can kind of look after itself, and when one of these tanks goes down, he can then start receiving Take Aim. But finally, in the tank core, we have got the Rogal Dawn. I absolutely love the Rogal Dawn. It's such a beast. It puts knights to shame. It's toughness 12, meaning that even las cannons start getting a little bit nervous when targeting this thing. It's also got 18 wounds and a 2+ armor save, and its ability, Ablative Plating, allows it to blank 1 enemy attack a game. So if someone hits you with even a Volcano Cannon, damage 12, you can just go, nope, that damage 12 goes away. So not only is it ridiculously durable, but it also packs a hell of a lot of firepower. We've got an Oppressor Cannon and an Auto Cannon. The Oppressor Cannon is strength 12. That is the strongest weapon we've got in this army, and it's AP -2, and it's flat damage 3. And the Auto Cannon is a bit of a quirky one. It's the only autocannon that I know of in the Guard that hits at ballistic skill 3+ base, which means when you try to take aim, it actually hits on a 2+. Some of you might think that is a mistake on the datasheet, but GW has had 3 or 4 chances to correct it, and it still hasn't. So at this point, I'm thinking that because it's a coaxial one, GW's given it a bit of extra ballistic skill. We're also going to give it the Pulverizer Cannon, which is another strength 9, AP -1 weapon, flat damage 3, more flat damage 3, guys. We're spamming a lot of it in this army just because it's so tasty. Every wound that you get through just tears a huge chunk out of the enemy. Against the average vehicle, you only need to get 3 flat damage wounds through to destroy it. It one-shots Terminators, and even if you've got an enemy infantry with -1 damage, well, a lot of enemy infantry is 2 wounds, so it still splats it. So damage 3 spam is one of the hidden tricks of the Guard. We've then gone for 2 multi-melters, and we've gone for 3 heavy stubbers. Now, the multi-melters are only an 18-inch range, which is a little bit at odds with some of the other guns on this tank, but because the stubbers are now rapid fire, and their rapid fire range is 18 inches, you're probably going to be getting within rapid fire range and also melter range anyway to leverage the most damage from this vehicle. Long story short, it can take a punch and it can give one as well. The last bits of firepower in this army are a pair of basilisks. Basilisks are a really good all-round artillery piece. They've got strength 8, which means against any infantry in the game, they're going to wound them on 2s, or if it's a super heavy infantry like a Custodes or a Terminator, you're probably going to be wounding it on 3s. But still, that's not bad at all. They've got a very reliable number of shots, D6 plus 3. So even if you roll that big stinky 1, you're still going to get 4 shots. And they've got blast, so you'll probably end up getting a few extra shots out of that as well. It's AP -2, so even if the enemy is in cover or you're firing indirect and they're getting the benefit of cover, you'll still more than likely shave a pip of armor off them. And it's flat damage 2, which makes it perfect for splatting those little 5-man intercessor squads that everyone seems to love putting on the home field objective. On top of this, they also can mess with your opponent's movement, because if an enemy unit is hit by a basilisk, it minuses 2 from its movement and from its advance roll. So even if they try and advance, there's a good chance that they're really going to be slowed down. Now, the strength 8 can make it struggle a little bit against heavier armor and heavier targets, even some medium vehicles. But don't forget that these things are probably going to be standing still. As a result, they're going to benefit from the guard detachment ability, which is Born Soldiers, which gives them lethal hits. But most importantly, and the reason why we've gone for these over mortars or field ordnance batteries, is they're independent. They don't need any orders to be effective. Because they're vehicle artillery, they hit, well, in the guard, they hit on a 4+. A lot of guard infantry artillery, like field ordnance batteries and mortars, hit on a ballistic skill of 5+. This means that they kind of need orders so that you can get them to hit on a decent roll. But the Basilisk hits on a 4+, and it's heavy, so if it stays still, it gets +1 to hit. Sure, out of line of sight, that's -1 to hit, but hitting on 4s is fine. You mask these things up, you shoot them at the same target, and reliably you should be able to take off that aforementioned annoying 5-man backfield babysitting objective squad in a volley or two. Now, this is all well and good. We've got firepower, we've got bodies, and we've got the ability to harass enemy units that are hidden out of line of sight. But the one limitation with the units we've gone for so far is they have to foot slog it up the board. You could put some of them in strategic reserves, but you probably want to start all of this on from the get-go. You need that firepower. You need to be making progress. This is where the final part of the list comes in. We've just got a couple of units that are very cheap and are purely dedicated towards going for objectives. And that is the Scions and the Cyclops Demolition Vehicle. Now, forgive me, the Cyclops isn't painted. Of course, when I go to a tournament with this list, it will be painted up. Now, the thing about these units is they're not there to do any damage. They are there to drop down and score behind enemy lines if you pull that card, or deploy Teleporter Homer. Now, the reason we've gone for one Scion Squad and one Cyclops is because, sure, the Cyclops is only 25 points. It's a little bit of a hidden gem when it comes to action monkeys, but it can't deep strike. So against some opponents who will be kind of savvy and they'll just put a couple of units on their table edge, it means that it might struggle to drive in exactly where you need it to do the action. But the Scions, whilst being a little bit more expensive, have got deep strike. So it gives them that little bit of extra flexibility so you can get them into those little gaps that your opponent might have missed. So taken as a whole, we have an army that has the ability to play the primary game and has lots and lots of bodies for screening as well. We've got an army that has got a lot of firepower, both direct and indirect, and it's taking advantage of several force multipliers. It's also got some durability behind it as well. And finally, we have an army that has a couple of ways of scoring those tricksy secondary objective cards. But let's be clear, no list is perfect. There's always going to be something out there that's a little bit more overpowered, a little bit more efficient, a little bit overtuned, maybe just something that's a bit more meta. But any guard commander using this list with a few practice games under their belt can go into a tournament with confidence. Well, at least that's the idea anyway. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Do you like this list, or would you change it? And if so, what would you change about it? Are there any units that you think I might have overlooked? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and of course, subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian Glory Hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordy and Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the Call of Duty. So a massive thank you to Bon Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, August Vardy, and the Tommies. Thank you guys, your incredible support makes a huge difference and it is a big part of how I'm able to do Mordy and Glory full time. But that's all for now. Thank you for watching and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.